These are the darkest Family Guy Christmas episodes.
I love this time of year. You know, Chris, you and your stillborn twin Tmiss were named after Christmas.
So, no, it's never
The first one is an episode titled Christmas is Coming. Pun intended, you'll see why. So, we kick things off at Chris and Meg's school Christmas concert. It's your standard holiday recital, kids singing off key, parents pretending their kid is a star, the usual. Afterward, Quagmire shows up, clearly there for the single moms, because of course he is. He chats with Meg and she confesses she's not that excited for Christmas, because it just reminds her that she's single. Same Megatron, same. Fast forward to later, Lois tells Meg to take Stewie to see Santa at the mall. Meg agrees, probably because she has nothing better to do. When they get there, Stewie is immediately freaked out by mall Santa, like most babies. To calm him down, Meg asks Santa if she can hold Stewie while they both sit on his lap. But then, things get weird. Santa starts bouncing them on his knee and suddenly, let's just say,
Santa made her Little Mermaid Moana.
Now Meg is fully obsessed. She's dreaming about Santa, calling him Beard Boy, and just acting really lovesick. Meanwhile, Stewie is traumatized by the whole situation because I guess he has a feeling that it was not a normal meeting Santa experience. He's so shaken up, he hasn't slept in days, so he vents to Brian. Brian puts two and two together and realizes what happened to Meg and tries to explain it to Stewie.
Let me just say that Santa made her Little Mermaid Moana.
And then Stewie pukes into Peter's fancy vomit hat. Determined to see Santa again, Meg drags Stewie back to the mall for round 2, but plot twist, the Santa on duty is Peter. Yes, Meg sat in her dad's lap and tried to get off. Poor man was just picking up extra work to support his family. She's horrified, but relieved to learn he wasn't working the day before, so he could not have been her Santa. A mall elf tells Meg that her Santa was probably a temp and directs her to another mall. So, off they go to the next mall. Meg's still on the hunt, but the Santa there isn't the one she's looking for. She snaps, gets kicked out, and is banned from the mall. Rough day for Meg. Leave it to Family Guy to take the cozy vibes of the holidays and flip it on its head in the weirdest way possible. You'd think even the raunchiest shows would lighten up during Christmas, but nope. Family Guy goes all out, pushing the boundaries even further. I mean, turning Santa into a sex symbol? Bold move, especially without Quagmire in the mix. This definitely wasn't the holiday special you'd expect. And then there's Meg. She has this totally awkward sexual awakening at the mall, and while the show's now under Disney's umbrella, they still managed to throw in enough innuendos to make it memorable. Of course, Meg's left chasing that weird feeling for life, which means she's always going to have some uncomfortable Santa-related baggage. And let's not forget that bizarre dream sequence, definitely one for the books. To make it even crazier, Meg drags her baby brother Stewie along for the ride. While most kids might develop a fear of Santa, Stewie's got some serious memories to deal with. Honestly, the show just keeps pushing these two into even weirder situations, and I guess we're here for every minute of it. The plot itself is pretty hilarious, even if it lacks the usual punchy one-liners we expect. Besides a die-hard Christmas Carol and a bunch of mall puns, there weren't a ton of laugh-out-loud moments. Even when Peter gets caught as a mall Santa, which might remind you of another Christmas special, the jokes just didn't hit like usual. But honestly, the outrageous story carries the episode, so the classic humor isn't even missed. After 18 seasons, they still know how to surprise us with wild stories. They've totally redefined what a holiday special can be, throwing all tact out the window. It's edgy episodes like this that made the show a classic back in the day, and it's cool to see they can still pull it off. Even if you've drifted away from the show over the years, this episode is definitely worth a watch. Just be ready. After this, you'll probably never look at a mall Santa the same way again. This next episode is titled Road to the North Pole. We start things off seeing everyone singing about their Christmas wishes. It's festive, sure, but also kind of ridiculous, and Brian, being the resident voice of reason, or grump, depending on how you see it, calls out the town for their greed. Meanwhile, Stewie has a run-in with a mall Santa who brushes him off in the rudest way possible. And let me tell you, if there's one thing you don't do, It's disrespect Stewie Griffin. Naturally, he declares he's going to the North Pole to kill Santa Claus. Because why not? Brian, thinking he's clever, tries to trick Stewie by taking him to a fake Santa village. But, yeah, he's not buying it. Now Brian's stuck as Stewie demands they head to the real North Pole. Cue the chaos. They crash Brian's car, wander through snowy wilderness, and eventually hitch a ride on a snowmobile with a random Canadian guy. Classic road trip vibes, am I right? When they finally get to the North Pole, it's not the magical wonderland from your childhood. Santa is sickly, exhausted, and suicidal. The elves are a nightmare of overwork and inbreeding. And the reindeer? Oh, they're full-on feral and eating each other. The whole operation has been wrecked by the world's insatiable demand for more. It's dark, but honestly kind of brilliant. It nails how Christmas has turned into a big old consumerist nightmare. Like, think about it. People out here going broke, taking out loans just to keep up with this unspoken rule that you have to blow a ton of cash on gifts nobody really needs. It's wild, right? Christmas is supposed to be about love, family, and all that warm, fuzzy stuff, but instead it's like the amount you spend equates how much you love your kids. Feeling bad for Santa, Brian and Stewie decide to step up and deliver the presents themselves. Spoiler, it's a disaster. They crash the sleigh, injure a family in their house just to realize they're at the wrong house and watch the reindeer chow down on each other. After realizing they've only managed to hit one house in over an hour, they throw in the towel. Back at home, Tom Tucker is reporting that nobody got any presents this year when Brian and Stewie wheel in poor, barely alive Santa. They tell the world the hard truth. Their greed is literally killing Santa Claus. The town takes it to heart, agreeing to only ask for one gift per person from now on. Fast forward to next Christmas, and Santa's back in action. The workshop is thriving, and everyone's feeling the true holiday spirit. It's funny and it's dark. But it has a great message, especially for the time we are in now. You know, maybe you don't need the Stanley Cup in every single color, but hey, what do I know? Finally, we have Christmas Guy, which is more sad than it is dark. It's their first Christmas without Brian. The episode starts off with the Griffins at the mall, looking forward to the Christmas carnival, only to find out that it's been canceled. Turns out Carter Pewterschmidt, Lois's dad and certified Grinch, shut it down because he absolutely despises Christmas. Naturally, Peter takes it upon himself to fix Carter's attitude. He tries everything from fake emotional letters to heavy doses of eggnog, but nothing works, until Peter accuses him of acting Jewish. That's when Carter begrudgingly agrees to reinstate the carnival. Meanwhile, Stewie has his own crisis. The holiday cheer, or lack thereof, reminds him of how much he misses Brian, who tragically died earlier in the season. When Santa asks what he wants for Christmas, Stewie blurts out that he just wants Brian back. It's a surprisingly heartfelt moment for Stewie, but it doesn't solve his problem. Even Vinny, the Griffin's new dog, trying to act like Brian, fails to fill the void. Desperate for a solution, Stewie spots a version of himself in the mall, buying a toy that he bought right before Brian's death. This gives him an idea. He can use his time-traveling pad to undo Brian's death. Teaming up with Vinny, Stewie retrieves the pad and prepares to rewrite history. But in a bittersweet farewell, Stewie acknowledges that saving Brian will mean erasing Vinny from their lives. Stewie travels back in time, saving Brian from the fatal accident. Once Brian is safe, Stewie sends the time pad back to the present, ensuring that no one remembers what happened. As the timeline adjusts, Stewie begins to fade away, knowing his sacrifice has restored Brian's place in the family. In the end, Brian is alive and well, and he's endlessly grateful to Stewie for what he's done.
Wow, Stewie, thank you for saving my life. You know, a lot of other families would have just gotten a different dog and moved on.
Awkward. Who's gonna tell him? It's a rare, heartwarming finish for Family Guy, blending Christmas magic with twists and a touch of the show's trademark dark humor. If you've made it to the end, I really appreciate you watching. Merry Christmas, and remember
That Santa made her Little Mermaid Moana.